Hi everybody, it's Danny with funukuleleprojects, and today I'm going to talk about what's probably one of my most common repairs, but I'm going to talk about it from the perspective of when that repair is a problem repair. And it also is going to underscore why whenever it's possible, if you have a local ukulele shop or a music store that takes ukuleles seriously, has a nice selection and supports the product, why I believe people should try to get things locally. So the most common repair I'm referring to is actually bridge resets. Uh, since I work on a lot of vintage instruments, as you've seen in other videos I've done, I've had to reset bridges. What I have next to me are two ukuleles. One is an Ohana, one you can tell is a Fender. And I'll start by talking about the Ohana, and as I talk about it, I'll do what I usually do. I'll put pictures up so you can see what was involved with this repair. This one was, I think, the quintessential example of why you'd want to work with a good ukulele store, a local store. This actually is an ukulele that Uspace sold to a customer, and then the bridge started to lift on it. And so, Jason and Patrice at Uspace saw it, and it was clearly a warranty-related issue, manufacturing defect issue. So they gave them a replacement ukulele and said, we'll settle up with Ohana later. And then afterwards they asked me, if I could fix it up, since Jason teaches ukulele. Once his COVID is all calmed down, he actually teaches classes in person, and this can be, one of the loaner ukuleles. Well, what made this bridge reset such a challenge was that it wasn't just that the bridge was lifting, but rather the veneer portion of the laminate was lifting off of the core wood underneath. And the reason that happens, it wasn't really so much a manufacturing defect on Ohana's part, it was a manufacturing defect on the laminate supplier for Ohana. Laminate like this is made in very large sheets, and contact adhesives are rolled out, and every so often you get spots that don't have contact adhesive. Well, it just so happened on this particular ukulele, the spot that didn't have the adhesive was right under where the bridge was. So it was pulling the veneer right off, the pressure of the bridge with the strings was pulling the veneer right off of the substrate. And I think if I can go through my text, I might have one of the original photos that shows it lifting. So step one was to remove the bridge. Once the bridge was removed, you'll see, I actually put, artist, palette knives. I could fit them underneath all the areas that it's not that there was delaminated. It was very evident when I got the bridge off that there had never been any glue under there in the first place. And it turned out that there was a very large section, almost 2 inches back and like behind the bridge, that had no glue. So what I needed to do was essentially glue the veneer back down to the board first. And I'll show pictures of what I did and how I did that. I made a glue caul that would cover that whole area so I could clamp the whole area flat. Once it was completely flat, then and only then could I put the bridge on. And then once I put the bridge on, I put some PHJ strings on it. And it's as good as new, functionally, play-wise. I had to do some touch-up on the finish. And, it's an ukulele I wouldn't mind owning. I don't want to play it real loud. I'll clip the mic I'm using to try to get Tank snoring out of the videos. If it clips, then I'm just going to have to use the regular. I won't really do so much playing. I'm trying to keep the video shorter, and it's really more about the bridge resetting. The next bridge reset. Actually, there's something I forgot to mention. It's really important when I reset bridges, because it came up with this Ohana, and it also came up in extreme case with the Fender. When I set a bridge, and it's whether it's a budget bridge or whether I'm resetting a bridge on higher end uke, or even like an expensive custom made uke by a master luthier, I will always do a double check, make sure everything's lining up. And what I'll do is I'll mark I'll put some tape so I can mark on the tape, the center point up here by the nut on the fretboard. I'll mark the center point at the bottom, and then what I do is when I mark the center point of a bridge that I'm not actually making, I use the C and the E strings, and I get the absolute center point between the C and the E strings. And the reason I do that is because a lot of quickly manufactured bridges are not 100% centered from side to side in terms of the strings. So if you take the center point from the bridge, it may not be in the center of the strings. But usually, even on cheaper instruments, the string spacing is quite even. So if I take the center point of the C to the E, then I can line that up with the dot here and the dot here, and I know that the bridge is centered. The next thing I need to do is make sure that the bridge is as close as it can be to, twice the distance from the 12th fret. The 12th fret is the octave point on stringed instruments, and it's also the halfway point of the scale. There can be some latitude, fore and aft, and some companies will actually set it a little back. This one was a little farther back than it needed to be, and since I was redoing so much of it, I just scooched it up a little bit, and so that it's much more accurate. It intonates very nicely. But that's one of the other things I'll always do as a double check. I want to make sure that if I'm putting something on, it's perfect. The only times I really can't do that, like with my Islander, with pin bridge setup or instruments that use through bridges, I really need to line up to the holes that were already existing. Now, in the case of this project here, I bought this off of eBay. I got this on eBay for $15 because the bridge was already off. And I thought that this would be a really good project for the channel. You know how I've mentioned that I plan on doing surprise giveaways? Well, this is one of them. And people that are watching this, I have a gig bag from Ola coming from Amazon. I've got a little tuner, and I'm going to be giving this away to people that are watching this video. That after I'm done talking about it, if you would like it, I'm gonna, from the time this posts, for 1 week, I will wait for people that see the video, and I'll do what I did last time. I'll wait for 1 week. At the 1 week point that this video posted, then I will put those names and just do a random drawing of the names for a giveaway. This is not, it's not a pre-announced giveaway. I said I'm gonna do surprise giveaways periodically. I'm not going to do them every video. I can't afford to do that. But I bought this specifically to give away. Now the problem with this, you'll notice it doesn't have a standard finish on it. And in fact, this is not a standard Fender Venice. The standard Fender Venices are really totally forgettable instruments. And with this one, in terms of the QC, all I can say is shame on Fender. And I mean that. If Fender is watching this ever, shame on you for letting something like this go to market. I couldn't just simply put the bridge in place. When I went to measure it, this bridge was set over 3/16 of an inch. I'll hold it right-handed. It was set over 3/16 of an inch back, so it was set about that much too far back. And on a little tiny, 340 millimeter scale, it's almost like 5 millimeters too back it was set. And it was set almost 1/8 of an inch too far down. It would never intonate properly if that were the only problems with it. But the nut was glued on over a millimeter to the top. So the bridge was back and down, and the nut was up. So the strings, essentially, were going zigzag over the frets when it came out of the factory. I can't help but wondering if someone didn't just knock the bridge off of it so they could take it back and say it broke, because I'm sure it never tuned properly. That created a bit of a challenge since I couldn't just glue it on, and since this was the finish, it's a clouded finish that was put on the top, I couldn't have a big spot there. I could have touched it up, but when I looked at the finish, I realized that it's such a heavy finish. This is just, I'm assuming it's probably basswood that they used for this instrument. and it was so heavily, what am I trying to say? There was so much primer. It was a semi, it was like a semi-transparent primer, white primer that they put on, so then they could put the clouded spray over it to get this look. I decided that it was so heavy, and these instruments are so essentially forgettable in terms of their sound stock, between the heavy coat on the soundboard, the cheap plastic nut and saddle, that I would change that. So I stripped it. And when I stripped it, that's when I noticed that I think it's basswood. I've done a lot of wood carving, and basswood's a very popular wood for wood carvers, and you can get cheaper ukuleles with basswood. I put a real thin finish on it. It's actually several layers. I did some stain. I did a slip glaze. I did a glue size over that to give a little stiffness to the top, and a little more stain, and then I actually did another size with a different type of hard glue, and a very final stain coat. Another thing that I did to this, and I want to mention this to anyone that's going to be doing, saying they want this in the giveaway, is that there was pitting in the binding, just like little holes in the binding, and so I decided, rather than have the pitting, when I did touch up on the back, because there were some spots that remover got through the tape, you can't really see where they were, because I touched up the back, and I did another cloud coat on the back to match the color. I purposely let some of the stain get onto the binding all the way around it, and then when I did the final stain coat, I put that onto the binding, so that mainly to hide the pitting, because it was like a defective binding that was used from the factory. And so it just looks like a really old instrument that's got a lot of patina over the years, been touched up over the years, but it really, this thing really sounds nice. It also, I forgot to mention, if I'm going to give it away, I wasn't going to give it away with a cheap plastic saddle, so I made a nut. I made a bone saddle and a bone nut for it. And so now, the better mic I'm using, and the external recorder is probably clipping when I do that. We'll see. It's a wonderful little instrument. The fix required the same things. I had to get the center point here. I marked off center point, so I could line everything up, get it in line. Then I made sure the scale was set, the bridge was set at exactly the right spot for the scale. And then I made sure that it was, properly centered. And then I was able to glue it back on. But only then, could I glue it back on. And then once all that was done, and I put the finish on it, this turned out to be a really nice little instrument. It is right-handed. It's really hard for me to play things. I'm learning a few things upside down, but I'm not going to take the time to play anything. I'll just, hear the open strings again. With just a few chords. Just so you can get an idea what it sounds like. If you're interested in this, just as a thank you for being a subscriber, I'm going to be giving away a little package. It was, I think these sell for like $60. I got it for $15. Probably put about $100 worth of work into it, and then I put a bone saddle and nut on it, and I got a $17 gig bag to go with it. Actually a pretty nice gig bag, the Ola gig bag for I think $17 or $18, and the little tuners that I get that I put with projects. It's a nice little package, and it's just a thank you package for my subscribers. And so once again, if you would like to be in the giveaway for this little Fender, just mark that you'd like to be in the giveaway, and 1 week after I post this, I will do a drawing for the little fender. And also remember that at 250 subscribers, I have that Kala concert Waterman that I'm going to give away. And then I'm going to have to recoup some funds before I do more giveaways. But there are more coming. I have a good number of ukuleles, that that I'm going to be doing repairs on, and some I'll be selling, and very reasonably, and some I'll be doing giveaways again. So anyway, that's all I have to say for today. Bridge resets are probably one of my most common repairs. They don't always go easily. More often than not, there are some sort of challenges, but every so often they're just really, really problematic. And like this one here, some people may have just said forget it, but it also is just another wonderful little instrument. When I look at an instrument like this, I look at it something that it had life as a tree. It had life as an instrument. It wasn't its fault that the soundboard wasn't made properly. So why not give it its life back? And that's what I did. And this is going to have a life as a loaner, a very nice learning instrument in U-Space's loaner arsenal. And I just want to mention once again, if you've got a local ukulele shop that takes care of its customers, go to the local ukulele shop. If you live in the LA area, well, you're lucky you have U-Space. Jason and Patrice are so great. They've actually been personally delivering since everything shut down with the coronavirus. People call up and Jason will make a little video for them demoing the instrument they're interested in, and then people that are purchasing instruments, they're just going out and delivering them because people can't go to the store. And that's the neat thing about having a good local store that you can go to. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care, be safe, and I'll see you in the next video.